I've read hundreds or thousands of Sumerian words, and I could never get a handle on how to say it.
And what are they written out phonetically? How do
Yeah,
you-
yeah. Well, or in cuneiform, both.
In cuneiform, but the problem is that cuneiform is polyphonic
Polyphonic.
in the sense that you can read the same character more than one way. So it's kind of a game to decipher it. And if you know the period, you can figure, well, this character usually is pronounced this. But
You know, my mom was an expert in cuneiform, and
what?
my mother,
Oh, really?
an archaeologist, and
Yeah, yeah.
it was funny. Well, shall I throw out some ideas?
Yeah, yeah.
Just gonna throw them
Yes, I wanted to throw something out. You know, we need to get an application. That's like
I actually just
understand.
finished
a priority.
this in March.
Also, we have to think about the goals of the group. I mean,
in order to have a good.
yeah, I mean, we could easily collaborate on our own doing anything we want.
Right.
This is what I'm thinking of, yeah.
Yeah.
For this thing, we want to get the money. We want to win. You have to, win the
Well,
grant.
yeah, there's
Well, not
a-
just
there's a-
because there's a small amount of money, but what
Yeah.
it does is it opens it up
Right.
for other people matching grants.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, here's what I did.
And do some
Okay.
looking next time.
Let me talk a little bit about what they're expecting from us.
Okay, yeah, because you're the contact person with
They want to know, this thing's called DNA of Creativity, so we're wanting to document the creative process in everything we do. So, we'll try to do that to our best of our ability. They also, once we put in an idea, if it is accepted, I mean, there's a lot of ideas going in right now. I mean, there could be 20, but they're only going to pick 3.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So once the ideas are picked, those that didn't get picked those people will be thrown into other groups. So there will, if ours is picked, there will be other people
in this.
coming in, other scientists and artists.
Right.
So we have to, think about, we need to give them space, as you are, all are musicians. You know that when you're improvising, you want to be able to give the other guy a little space. You don't want to take everything up. So we have to take that into consideration.
That's a very good point. I thought of that this week too.
Yeah.
'Cause-
So we need to think about what others can do
Can do,
in this other scientists. Probably would be the biggest question, would be what other scientists
Can do,
can
yeah.
do in this. I mean, it's easy for other artists. There's plenty of roles that can happen in that.
Yeah, I mean,
capacity.
anything from acting to stage design.
Point of order on that point. Maybe
I
we
have
should
some
leave it a
ideas,
little bit
so
more
I'll throw on
open-ended.
it.
So
Yeah, what we need is, for the application, is the crux of the biscuit,
Right.
We don't need any details. We
Yeah.
just need, what is our plan, and what do we plan to do, and why are we doing it? And how does it involve science, and how does it involve art?
Well, let me throw this out for what it's worth, and these are ideas just in no particular order, okay? But I looked at this kind of closely from a staging point of view and philosophical point of view, and I didn't bring any drawings or do any drawings yet because I wanted to run by how you feel about some of these ideas, okay? One of the first things I did is I have a friend who's really very knowledgeable about sci-fi works. He's read thousands of books, and I thought it'd be nice just to run it by and have it vetted, to get the context of, where
is
it's
this Bob?
Yeah, and Bob didn't give me any ideas, but he was quite insightful in the context, and where he's saying there is a tradition of this kind of piece, which is in things like the Twilight Zone, where they use imagination a lot in science, or mentioning CSI pieces, and a lot of recent work in television where they're getting close to this thing. Anyway, the thing that I thought, and I'm just going to throw a bunch of ideas and footballs on the table. Okay, the thing that I thought that was fun about this piece before staging is that it's something that sort of appears and disappears. It exists for a moment and then it's gone, right? And
Are you talking about the Martians or
no,
or the play? Or what?
the narrative in the piece, and that's what happens in the imagination or whatever is and it's very much like art and science anyway. Art appears and disappears. Science appears and disappears. You know, or is morphed.
Or morphs.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know what I mean, the original experience is gone forever. So I started to think
In
about
science? In science, the
in
original
science too,
experience?
yeah. Science ideas
Well,
appear and
but then
disappear.
Well, for something, for example, you can only work out the structure of DNA once.
Well, I mean,
That's
no,
not-
I mean, here's
that's not-
Ptolemy and, Kepler. I mean, many ideas come together and then they're
Oh, I understand what you're saying,
Superseded.
right, yeah.
superseded. And,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
or
And that's the nature of
like
science.
Newtonian mechanics.
It's like right now they're threatening, super luminosity as being reality. And the other thing Bob brought up was very interesting. Is there's let me just throw out those ideas and then I'll shut up. Okay, is that though it suggests quantum physics for an audience, I mean quantum physics ideas, it doesn't push it where the audience would connect in terms of imagine. Anyway, here's what I was thinking artistically. If we're bold, and I'm addressing your issues here, and let's say we were to title this Science and Art, or Art and Science, okay, and take a stab at once and for all putting an end to the dichotomy of these two fields in terms of the public reaction to them, okay. How could we stage this that would be totally fun artistically and keep the integrity of the science? And so here's what I was thinking. I have two ideas, but I'll just present one now and then the other one. Is that I respected this thing as a radio play, and I was thinking of how to keep that integrity, but also have a real excellent, spectacular staging of the thing. And what you could do is have the piece work just like it works, where for the audience, okay, the thing appears out of nowhere.
The
Okay.
thing appears
Like
out of
a
nowhere.
David Copperfield magic instance.
What appears out of
what
nowhere?
The play.
The play appears out of nowhere. Every
Okay.
play appears out of
Well,
nowhere.
no, in other words, you come into an empty auditorium, okay, and shazam, this whole thing happens.
So do you
And then-
see the announcer?
But you must be,
No.
Or is the
you must
announcer?
have, you must have expected something to happen, or else you wouldn't be there.
Well, let me finish.
Oh, okay.
Here's how I see, this is one,
Okay.
I have two ideas, but here's one fun way of staging this, is that, okay, there's no acting in this thing, okay, except for the Martians, who are like Cirque du Soleil, heavily costumed situations. The human beings, okay, we could make this incredibly mad spaceship, okay, I mean, a la like satellite type of thing that hangs over the audience, okay, where all the dialogue going on between the humans, okay, is out of the spaceship. Okay, this is just glorious sculpture, basically, and the Martians are like dancers, okay, where we keep the integrity of the radio show, okay, as a thing, but the only real things you see is in Mars and stuff like that. There could, and what I mean by this is taking it in terms of art, okay, real art. Doing the whole staging with art and sculpture and painting and motion and the dancers and costume and all that kind of stuff. So, a real high caliber art piece of, cutting edge ideas visually, musically as well, okay? I'm just presenting one idea here and throwing it out, where what do you call it? And I know what you're thinking too, with
Do you?
no, I mean or where you were pushing us, okay. But in other words, if it could be just a really rich visual piece with keeping the integrity of the talking is over the radio. I mean, the radio waves constantly with the human beings, And anyway, the idea of the thing is appearing out of nowhere in this sort of magical spectacle, and then disappearing completely, where the audience is left with the bare stage, where it's a kind of Pirandello idea, where the play itself appears and disappears in imagination and is gone too. You know, so it, you know what I mean? And there's the balls inside the balls. But, you know, the idea being is if we did really a bang-up artwork out of the thing, you know, visually
I
and
have no
dancing.
doubt we will do that.
Okay, and, you know, with dancers too, I mean, we've got all the things at our fingertips with dancers and costumes and, you know,
And huge amount of artists.
yeah, well, the other thing too that Bob didn't say, but I talked to Bob about was, and this is not a problem staging, but some of the names of the Martians, I don't think we want to tread too heavily on what's been done in Star Wars and stuff like that.
I'm not.
You're not, okay.
It's all Edgar Rice Burroughs.
No, I know, but, you know, well, there's some names of,
Yeah, it's mostly Burroughs.
It's all
Burroughs.
It's all
Burroughs.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're treading on Burroughs is what we're doing.
But
In fact,
but Burroughs stuff is in public domain now.
okay,
And they're unfortunately bringing a movie out after talking about it for 40
I heard
years.
about that,
It's
yeah.
coming out in March.
Barsoom?
Yeah.
It's
Martian.
John Carter on Mars.
Mhm.
And it looks like it's going to be visually stunning, but very little to do with Burroughs' story.
Naturally. Typical Hollywood.
No, okay, let me just say a couple of things on this thing, because I hadn't read this over myself for some time. If we're going to stage it, I think we can delete the announcer and that sort of stuff altogether. It should be obvious from the staging where they are.
Oh, sure, yeah,
What's
of
happening?
course, yeah.
So leave that out altogether. Not do it as a radio play, which means it doesn't have to be as wordy. And secondly, I think I would probably, towards the end of it, cut out some of the stuff that's too esoterically Burroughs specific. You know, like the Gridley way.
Well, first of all, no one knows who Edgar Rice Burroughs is.
Right.
What do you mean?
Today.
Well, they
Well,
will.
at your age, maybe.
They will by next year. They might by next year, but
I mean,
Well,
Star
can I add
Wars.
something to
Think
that?
about what's going on today. I mean, Star Wars is for old.
You have to be at
fogies.
least 55 years old in order
You know,
to.
Burroughs. Okay.
Right.
Well, here's the thing too. You know, one of the hardest
At
things
least,
I
at
ever
least.
had to
Yeah.
do was I tried to stage that Plato piece about Sophocles, which is all blah blah blah.
yeah.
Crito.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's a really impossible task
Yeah,
to stage. And what I was thinking is how do you get a lot of philosophical or verbal things like you're talking about over in an audience that isn't just dull and boring and crazy and no action and no, you know, spectacle and no. There's another thing, we need a little sexuality, but we'll get later.
Well, the sexual licensing, the Martians are mostly practically nude.
Anyway, oh, that's not a
In
bad
fact, I've
idea.
actually seen them in costume.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
daughter, Poole Anderson, his daughter showed at the science fiction convention, basically nude and just covered with red paint.
But see, if we have
And brass.
all the radio talk,
Yeah.
okay, on FX, and the
Yeah.
Martians talking
Yeah.
with huge differential FX,
Yeah.
you know, different like intonalities and intonations and stuff like that, you know, in big, you know, larger than life voicings and stuff like that. It could be very interesting to put music behind and with a lot of the more footnotey, you know, word stuff, and not
Yeah.
throw it out
I actually thought of making an opera, kind of opera out of the whole,
out of that part. Yeah, exactly.
out of the whole thing. Just make it into like a Martian opera. Or
Sounds
something.
good to me.
Uh,
I just want to make sure we don't forget the theme.
well, that's the point.
And the theme is that both science and fiction are very exciting and very emotional, but that discoveries in science supersede certain mythic or
Romantic.
literary romantic visions of Mars. I mean, Mars is Mars, it's not Barsoom.
Right.
Even though thinking about Barsoom or H.G. Wells or C.S. Lewis's Mars actually stimulated a lot of these people to actually go to Mars and look for Mars. And that's the whole point of this
But
thing.
could
So-
I turn
This
the
is
hourglass artistically for a moment? Is that from an artistic point of view? Okay, there's also the what do you call it? The hospitality that science gives to the imagination. You know what I mean? In the other direction.
I think Arthur might use it.
Where you speculate on okay,
Yeah, you speculate.
exoplanetary
You speculate on
stuff.
things, but
But then you manifest it artistically.
well, no, but ultimately there's a filter, and it's called reality.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get to. Excellent.
And
Yeah, we're okay.
you're okay on that?
Well,
No.
it's just like, talking about reality, I mean, we're gonna,
Okay, here's what I wanted to get
Let's
to.
talk about reality.
Let me
What is
throw
reality?
This,
what
let me
is
throw
reality?
this in really
We're gonna
quick.
talk about that.
One of
Because I
the
had something I wanted to address that you said.
one of the
on
errors
other day.
that are made in science,
What's that?
the errors that are made in science, conceptually, philosophically, is that, and I've said this before, and we'll get into reality really quickly, is that things like space, time, universe, etc., are sometimes not badly mistaken in science as nouns instead of adjectives. If you think of those in terms of adjectives, okay, it reorients your meta sort of perception in a different way, okay? If you think of reality,
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah,
just
how
so
could space be an adjective?
compared to what? It's an adjective for some particular point of view, or a selected point, or perceptual points of view. A space to who, to what, time to him, the home, universe to
Those are all nouns.
No, think of them for a moment as
I'm
adjectives.
trying to.
Okay?
I'm pretty
And then-
spacey about that.
Yeah,
Let me finish, okay? If you continue that form of thought to reality, reality is an adjective as well. And if, for example, the reality of is a good way to frame that. It's everything is a reality of something. Put it in an adjective.
It's still a noun. It's still a noun. You're reifying it every time.
No. You can noun it if you want, but then what you do is you freeze the perceptual move. Everything's moving, like we said, constantly. You know
it
what I mean?
becomes the object of the preposition of this,
Well, there's many ways to think of this. Is that
Well, this is kind of what I said to you the other day. If you
sorry for bringing this up.
if you accept Einstein's theory of relativity, then matter is energy, so a noun is a verb. You could look at it that way.
That's one way to look at it. The other thing is we could reorient the whole future of both science and art in terms of being comfortable of our reference points of view of where we noun things from. And say, okay, always go to motive. Okay, and there's why are we trying to define the universe in materialistic terms? What's the point? Why do we want to do
They won't
that?
understand it.
Materially.
And that's the only way that really works, is materially.
Why do you say that?
Because that's true.
I don't know that that's true, John. I will say that
It works. It works.
It works. It's orderly.
It has worked
It's
for the last.
orderly.
It has worked for the last 350 years.
It's orderly, and it correlates experience.
Yeah.
But as far as truth,
Well,
ultimate truth,
okay.
there's no such thing.
No, there may not be, but how would you know?
How would I
You
know?
wouldn't know. I mean, we can only know what we can do experience.
Well, see, that's what the whole thing would be.
I don't
This-
believe in gnosis.
That's
For
the whole
this-
theme of our project.
That's why this thing would be fun
How
to
do you
bring
know?
that up
Right.
to an audience. To experience this thing we're talking about is that.
Put them on the sword.
Science is no more real
Hey, let me
Then-
put something out.
than mythology.
Well, that I disagree with you on.
Well, because you're.
I think science is more real than mythology.
I-
But I think mythology is,
You have to talk about what real is.
it's very important. Well, I
It's
think
an adjective.
real is, okay, the orderliness and lawfulness and reproducibility of experience.
But is there such a
That's,
thing?
I wouldn't call it real.
I would call it
I mean, that's
Scientific.
orderly and it's, that's in how you correlate experience, but does it make it more real? John, go into a sensory deprivation tank for about 30 minutes and tell me what you experienced is not real. I mean, it's your experience.
I mean, I have that in a dream every once in a while, you know, I was really convinced till I wake up.
That it actually
real.
happened.
It's real.
And that happened to me the other night.
I mean, it happens to me probably several times a week. Sometimes I know it's bullshit and I'm dreaming it, but I'm still enjoying it. And sometimes it just depresses me. I have a
Well,
lot
see,
of,
it was a real dream.
I have a lot of
Okay.
slice of life dreams. They're just like ordinary life,
Right.
you know. So,
Okay, well, I have
I'm
one.
not
Yeah,
convinced
but I'd say
that a dream isn't real.
Let me have the floor for it, because I want to talk on this. Kaz was down the Sonic Arts Gallery on Saturday. And one of the points he made was that your play has such a statement that science kills science fiction, and he was thinking how he would like to leave it more open-ended than that somehow.
well, okay.
And, well, let me talk.
Okay.
So the point that I made to him was that science is so weird that who's to say how final that statement is? So what I'm thinking is, even though the Barsoomians disappear when the Earthlings get there with their science,
Yeah.
there could be another Mars somewhere else, another planet somewhere else that has Barsoomians on it that are real.
Well,
It's
see,
possible.
Well, I kind of alluded to that in a couple of places.
Right,
That's-
you do. You
And I
do
alluded,
say that.
and I mean, I get very wordy, and I think that one thing I would certainly do is in that long section when when he's interviewing the commander, he's talking on his philosophy. Just split that among other people in the crew who do nothing until that point anyway, but they land on Mars, and have them also
Well, see,
discuss, you know, why they were interested in going to Mars.
well, see,
And I
this
could
is
build
where
it
I
in from that, and
thought.
that idea of coming in like the syllogismal deal. That's a clever idea of L. Sprague de Camp's.
See,
Well,
this
that's
is
a
where I
different-
thought that.
Well, it's different worlds, and in the case of L. Sprague de Camp, different fictional worlds have their own logic.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, well, this is a theory in this book. It's called the Wheels of If. No, I have to think because he wrote several books on this theory.
Who did?
L. Sprague de Camp. He wrote about a very stuffy psychologist named Reed Chalmers and his at this institute, and they start thinking in non-Western logics, and then they find themselves suddenly into the world, say, of the Fairy Queen, or Orlando, let's see, Furioso, or actually go to Barsoom, although it's a kind of a stupid story they do at Barsoom, because it's clear that the camp doesn't really like Rastovas or the other characters, but this all came out after I'd written this thing.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, but he also had it earlier, and he has this, and so if you can figure out the kind of logic that say permits magic, then you can enter into a world, physically as well as mentally, in which magic works. So they go into
That's
the
a
Fairy
little
Queen.
my field there.
So I mean that's one possibility. You know, if you want to think of a possible world. But the thing is, we know Mars is there. We know Barsoom isn't.
Well, let me
But-
throw out
But it's
another.
extremely appealing. It'd be nice if Barsoom was there. It's certainly more appealing than those monsters that H.G. Wells had attacking us. Or
Let me throw out another
But
staging
Barsoom might
idea.
exist somewhere, maybe.
Maybe.
Possible.
Maybe.
Let me throw out a whole nother staging idea that might help bring in other scientists and stuff like that and other people. And I've thought about doing this for a long time, but this may be a piece where it could be done in.
Okay.
You know, in the old days when you had a symphony of 70 people or 35 people, everybody was a part of, you know, what do you call it?
Yeah.
A cog in the machine, $5 for each person, and that was one instrument.
Yeah.
If we sort of took that same model and got, say, 20 people on laptops or 70 people on laptops and staged this whole thing live on laptops with, like they do, and I worked with people who do raves, you know, live rave work, where one guy can be doing the background and the other guy can be doing the foreground and another guy can be doing the music, and you know, where the whole thing can be done in a live situation, but ensemble with a whole group of people. We
Sorry, I
might
mean,
get
It's all right. No,
I'm hungry.
it doesn't seem like anybody else is interested. So
we might get a lot of
I just got done
engineering
work.
intel
This is
in there,
dinner time.
okay, which we could
To do what?
hmm?
I mean,
to stage it, meaning you know, it's doing the music and the visuals, okay, but
The only thing is we haven't really, I mean, you're talking about technical things right now,
yeah, we need to
which are like at STU, and we haven't even got A and B down yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think from, you know, what the piece is, okay, the reality of, okay, is, we've covered that ground, all of us,
Covered what ground?
of what the piece is doing, is trying to, where it's trying to go.
It's trying to say that science kills science fiction.
Well,
Well, it kills some kinds of science fiction. In fact, nobody writes this kind of science fiction anymore
Why is that?
because no one believes it.
Because of science, right?
But we still have science fiction.
Yeah, but it's different. Modern science fiction tends to be, a lot of it's heavily fantasy, a lot of it's sociological, a lot of it's boring as shit.
Well, it's because it's talking about social sciences.
Well, it's also because the old grand
natural
themes,
science.
the old grand themes don't work anymore. I mean, the last person who wrote about habitable Mars, habitable Venus, was Roger Zelazny, and he died in the 80s or something.
See,
Beautiful
here's the
writer.
thing that's very...
Zelazny?
Hold it.
Zelazny, Lord of Light. He takes the science fiction version of Buddhism on an Earth colony planets thousands of light years away, and it's the best science fiction book ever written, I think. Lord of Light.
See, the thing to remember, though, in these contexts is that it's one thing to have theoretical intentions in the piece, but the other thing is that what comes across to the audience and what other people are reading, because you get multiple interpretations and multiple, you know, slants on things.
Art.
Yeah, that's the art part.
Well, and also the experiential part.
That's the art part.
That's the art part.
Well, but too, what you have to remember is that what this piece does in terms of macro narrative is that Martian thing appears and it disappears. You know, it doesn't exist.
The Martian thing,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
idea of Martian.
Well,
Martians of Basusa.
Well,
Yes, right,
Yes.
okay.
Well,
the whole
Martians
idea is
could be
that,
microbes.
Yeah,
Of course,
and they
well,
can
it's
be, and they can be
suggested.
looking for
but
it.
these
Yeah.
Martians existed until the scientists got there.
I mean,
and-
this is
And
sort
they
of
don't
this
exist
is sort of the
anymore.
canonical vision of Mars, I think, for most people.
But
it's,
I mean,
either,
okay.
it's either monsters, which I'll
But
put into it, or it's
artistically and poetically, with that metaphors,
yeah.
okay, is a certain kind of disposition of perception. Okay, that, you know, just like you were talking about dreams and reality and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And then, you know, Pirandello's done a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah.
And the idea that that's why I was suggesting earlier, maybe a possibility of that did the play really exist itself too? Or was it just reality that, you know?
I think if things get too uncertain, you're not going to get an audience. I mean, certainly, if I'm not going to drive into San Diego to the theater unless I'm certain there's going to be something there that's going to entertain me
Well,
or stimulate me.
and here's what I'm thinking are the footballs.
You know, if I don't know whether there's even going to be a play there, if all I'm supposed to show up and fork over $25, you know, I'm not going to do it.
Right, right.
Well, the two things that I think that would be really interesting, the heavy hitting ideas in this is one, if we could really address this issue of science and art. Okay, I mean, hit it right in the head and say, okay guys, let's get over this and let's move on to the next.
Science and what about science and art? What are we going to hit?
I mean, there's the play Oxygen, there's the play about
Well, I mean,
Heisenberg and Bohr talking about Nazism in the bar.
I mean, putting the dichotomy in the
Sort of
past, that's one thing. You know, or the
But the
separation.
dichotomy, you're never going to put the dichotomy in the past. There is a dichotomy, it exists.
Yeah,
Now
It's
you're talking
different.
like him.
It's different. Yeah.
yeah, it's different.
Why do you
Science
think
and